The bullet ripped through the night air before anyone heard the shot. Aurelian Cross hit the pavement hard, shoulder slamming concrete, arms wrapping instinctively around his stomach. Warm blood spread across his white shirt. The restaurant's golden light blurred above him, car doors slammed, voices screamed. Somewhere close, children were crying. Two small bodies crashed into him. No, no, wake up. The first twin Rowan grabbed Aurelian's coat with both hands, shaking him. Tears streaked the boy's face. His brother Silas pressed against Aurelian's side, sobbing, fingers clutching fabric like it could stop the bleeding. Footsteps pounded closer. A man dropped to his knees beside them. Brown hair, sharp suit, face carved from stone. Dominic Hale didn't touch the body. His hands hovered frozen like he'd forgotten how to move. Why? Dominic's voice cracked. Why would you? Aurelian's lips moved, blood bubbled at the corner of his mouth. They were in the way. The twins screamed louder. Dominic's gaze dropped, the shirt had ridden up. Even through the blood, the curve was unmistakable. A baby bump. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Dominic's jaw locked. His hands finally moved, pressing against the wound, but the blood kept coming. It pooled on the sidewalk, reflecting streetlights like shattered glass. Rowan wouldn't let go of Aurelian's coat. Silas buried his face in the Omega's shoulder, shaking so hard his teeth chattered. Sir, we need to move. Shut up. Dominic didn't look at his guard. His eyes stayed on Aurelian's face. The Omega's skin had gone white. His breathing came in short, broken gasps. Sirens wailed in the distance. Across the street, a car door slammed. Engine roaring, tires squealing, the shooter was gone. Dominic lifted his head. Blood covered his palms. For the first time in 15 years, the Alpha who controlled half of Ravenport City didn't know what to do. Stay with them, Aurelian whispered. His eyes fluttered. Don't leave the boys. You're not dying, Dominic's voice came out flat, hard, like he could command death itself to obey. Aurelian smiled, weak, sad. You don't get to decide that. The ambulance arrived in a storm of red and blue lights. Paramedics swarmed. Rowan and Silas were pulled away, screaming, reaching for the stranger who'd thrown himself in front of a bullet meant for them. Dominic stood slowly. His suit was ruined. His hands were shaking. A guard stepped close. Sir, we need to secure the area, Victor Rains. I know, Dominic's voice dropped to something cold, something final. Find him. The paramedics loaded Aurelian onto a stretcher. His eyes had closed. One hand still rested on his stomach, protective, even unconscious. The twins clung to each other, watching, faces destroyed by tears and confusion. Dominic walked to the ambulance. He climbed in without asking permission, sat down beside the stretcher, stared at the Omega who shouldn't have been there, who shouldn't have moved, who shouldn't have cared about two children he didn't know. The door slammed shut. The ambulance pulled away. And Dominic Hale realized something that made his chest tighten in a way bullets never had. He didn't even know the Omega's name. What would you have done, run or taken the bullet? Drop your answer below. 3 weeks earlier, Aurelian had been invisible. He wiped down tables at Marcello's, a restaurant where people in expensive suits said things in low voices. No one looked at him. Omegas who kept their heads down didn't get looked at. That was the point. His back ached, his feet hurt. The baby had started kicking 2 days ago, and every movement reminded him he was running out of time. Table 6 needs water. Aurelian nodded, grabbed the pitcher, walked across the dining room without making a sound. He'd learned that skill early, how to exist without taking up space. Table 6 had a man and 2 children. The boys looked about 5, identical faces. One was crying because his juice spilled. The other sat frozen, staring at the puddle spreading across the table like it might explode. The man in the suit didn't move, just watched, cold, detached. Aurelian set down the pitcher, pulled a clean towel from his apron, knelt beside the crying boy. Hey, his voice came out soft, gentle. Accidents happen, it's okay. The boy hiccuped, tears still streaming. Aurelian cleaned the juice from the child's hands, smiled. You know what? My favorite superhero spills stuff all the time. He's clumsy, but he still saves people. The other boy looked up. Really? Really? Aurelian wiped the table. Superheroes don't have to be perfect, they just have to try. The crying stopped. Both boys stared at him, then at each other, then back at him. Across the table, the man's expression shifted, just barely, like he'd seen something unexpected. Aurelian stood, bowed slightly, walked away before anyone could say anything else. He didn't notice the man watching him leave, didn't see the way Dominic Hale's jaw tightened, didn't know that for the first time in years someone had made the Alpha's sons smile in public. The shift ended at midnight. Aurelian walked home through empty streets, one hand resting on his stomach. The baby kicked again, he pressed back gently, a silent conversation. "We're okay," he whispered, "we're going to be okay." He didn't believe it. Omegas like him didn't get happy endings, they got by, survived, stayed quiet. He had 3 months left before the baby came, 3 months to figure out how to raise a child alone in a city that ate people like him for breakfast. But tonight, for 5 minutes, he made 2 scared kids feel safe. That had to count for something. Aurelian turned the corner toward his apartment. A car idled at the curb, black, expensive tinted windows. He walked faster. The car didn't follow. He climbed the stairs to his studio, locked the door, checked it twice, collapsed onto the narrow bed and closed his eyes. Tomorrow he'd be invisible again. That instinct to comfort, to protect, to step in when no one else would cost him everything. The muzzle flash lit up Rowan's face for half a second. Aurelian didn't think, his body moved. He shoved forward, arms spreading, placing himself between the twins and the shooter. The second gunshot cracked the air. Impact. His shoulder exploded in pain, the force spun him sideways. He stumbled, gasping, and his knees hit the pavement. The world tilted, streetlights smeared into streaks of gold, voices shouted but the words didn't make sense. Rowan screamed. Silas grabbed Aurelian's coat, tiny hands shaking, trying to hold him upright. Aurelian's vision blurred, he tasted copper. His hand moved automatically to his stomach, pressing down, checking. The baby kicked, still alive, still fighting. "Please," Silas sobbed, "please don't die." Footsteps thundered closer. A shadow fell over them. Dominic Hale dropped to the ground, knees slamming concrete. His hands hovered over Aurelian, shaking like he'd forgotten how to touch another person. "Why?" Dominic's voice broke, raw, desperate. "You don't even know them." Aurelian's lips moved, blood bubbled at the corner of his mouth. "They're just kids." Rowan pressed his face into Aurelian's side, sobbing so hard his whole body shook. Silas clung to the Omega's coat, refusing to let go even as blood soaked through the fabric. Dominic's gaze dropped. The shirt had ridden up, the baby bump was visible now, unmistakable, vulnerable. "No," Dominic's voice came out strangled. "No, you can't." Aurelian coughed, pain lanced through his chest. "Take care of them." "You're not dying." Dominic pressed both hands against the wound. Blood welled between his fingers, hot, slick, too much. "You hear me, you're not dying." Aurelian smiled, weak, sad, his eyes fluttered closed. "Not your decision." Sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights flickered at the end of the street. The twins screamed louder, clinging to the stranger who'd taken a bullet for them. Dominic's hands were covered in blood. His suit was ruined, his face always controlled, always cold, cracked. A guard ran up. "Sir, the shooter." "Find him." Dominic didn't look away from Aurelian. "Now." The paramedics arrived in a rush of boots and equipment. They pulled the twins away. Rowan fought, kicking, screaming Aurelian's name even though he'd never learned it. Silas went limp, sobbing silently, eyes locked on the Omega's pale face. "We need to move him, now." They loaded Aurelian onto a stretcher. His hand slipped from his stomach, fell limp at his side. One of the paramedics checked his pulse. "He's crashing." Dominic climbed into the ambulance without asking, sat beside the stretcher, stared at the Omega's face, too young, too fragile, too selfless. The doors slammed shut. The ambulance lurched forward. Aurelian's chest rose and fell, barely. Dominic Wright's hands curled into fists, blood dried on his palms. His sons were safe, alive, unharmed. And a stranger was dying because of it. The truth waiting at the hospital would be worse. "Would you sacrifice yourself for someone else's children?" Comment below. Dominic stood in the hallway, staring at his hands. Blood had dried black under his fingernails. He'd scrubbed twice, it didn't matter, the stain felt permanent. Through the window, doctors moved around Aurelian's bed. Machines beeped. IV lines snaked across pale skin. The Omega's chest rose and fell in shallow gasps, barely enough to keep him alive. A nurse stepped out, clipboard in hand, face carefully neutral. "Mr. Hale." Dominic didn't respond. His gaze stayed locked on the Omega. "The bullet missed the major organs. He'll survive." She paused. "The baby's heartbeat is strong." Dominic s jaw tightened. "How far along?" 22 weeks, the nurse glanced at her notes. "It's a miracle, really. Most pregnancies wouldn't survive that kind of trauma." "Who is he?" "Aurelian Cross, 23, works at Marcello's. No emergency contact listed." She hesitated. "No Alpha either." Dominic s gaze shifted, cold, sharp. Then why was he there? "He was leaving the restaurant. Wrong place, wrong time." The nurse's expression softened. "He saved your sons." Dominic knew that. He'd seen it, felt it. The Omega had moved without hesitation, without thought, like protecting children was instinct. "When can I see him?" "He's sedated. We're monitoring for complications." The nurse stepped closer, lowered her voice. "Mr. Hale, there's something else. The bullet trajectory, it wasn't random. Whoever fired that shot knew where your sons would be." Dominic s expression went blank, dangerously calm. "Victor Rains." The nurse nodded. "We found a partial plate. Your people are tracking it now." Victor Rains, a rival Alpha who'd been losing territory for months. Dominic had dismantled his supply routes, cut off his buyers, isolated him systematically. He should have anticipated retaliation. He hadn't. And an innocent Omega paid the price. Inside the room, Aurelian stirred. His head turned slightly, eyes fluttering but not opening. One hand moved to his stomach, even unconscious, protective, instinctive. Dominic walked to the door, pushed it open, stepped inside. The room smelled like antiseptic and blood. Machines hummed. Aurelian's face was too pale, bruises darkened under his eyes, an oxygen mask covered his nose and mouth. Dominic stopped at the bedside. He didn't sit. He stared at the Omega who'd thrown himself in front of a bullet. For children who weren't his, for an Alpha he didn't know, for no reason except that it was right. Dominic s hands curled into fists. "I don't know why you did it." His voice came out low, rough, "but I'm going to make sure it wasn't for nothing." Aurelian's fingers twitched, his lips moved behind the mask. No sound came out. Dominic turned, walked out, pulled his phone from his pocket. "Find Victor Rains. I don't care where he is. Bring him to me." He ended the call, looked back through the window. Aurelian's hand rested on his stomach, protecting a baby that was Dominic s. Living a life Dominic had no right to interfere with. But the attack hadn't been random. Victor wanted leverage, he got blood. And now, an Omega who didn't belong in this world was a target simply because he'd survived. Dominic s phone buzzed. "Unknown, asterisk, you kept the wrong one alive." The message deleted itself. Dominic stared at the blank screen, then at Aurelian, then at his sons waiting in the next room, asking when the Omega who saved them would wake up. For the first time in years, Dominic Hale didn't have an answer. "Who sent that message? Drop your theories below." Aurelian woke to white ceiling tiles and the smell of disinfectant. His shoulder burned, his chest ached, every breath felt like dragging glass through his lungs. He blinked slowly, vision clearing, and tried to sit up. Pain exploded through his torso. He gasped, fell back against the pillows. A machine beeped faster. His hand moved automatically to his stomach. Still round, still warm. The baby kicked. Aurelian exhaled, tears pricked his eyes. "You're okay, we're okay." The door opened. A man stepped inside. Brown hair, sharp suit, face Aurelian recognized from the restaurant, from the pavement, from the moment everything went wrong. Dominic Hale. Aurelian's breath caught. He tried to push himself up again, but his body wouldn't cooperate. "Don't," Dominic s voice came out flat. He closed the door, stayed near it, didn't come closer. "You'll tear the stitches." Aurelian stared. "The boys, are they alive, unharmed because of you?" Silence filled the space between them, heavy, uncomfortable. Aurelian looked down at his hands, IV lines taped to his wrists, bandages wrapped around his shoulder. I didn't think, I just moved. Why? The question came out sharp, almost angry. Aurelian met his gaze. They were scared. I couldn't just watch. Dominic Wright's jaw tightened. He walked closer, stopped at the foot of the bed, stared at Aurelian like he was trying to solve a puzzle that didn't make sense. You don't know me, you don't know them, you had no reason to get involved. They're children. Aurelian's voice stayed soft, steady, that's reason enough. Dominic Wright's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, something unreadable. The shooter was targeting them, not you. You weren't supposed to be part of this. Aurelian's hand pressed against his stomach, but I was. And now you're a target too. The words hung in the air, cold, final. Aurelian's breath hitched. What? Victor Raines, the man who ordered the hit, he knows you survived, he knows you're connected to my sons. Dominic Wright's voice dropped. He'll come for you to finish what he started or to use you. Aurelian's heart pounded, the machines beeped faster. I don't understand, I'm nobody, I just work at a restaurant. You stopped being nobody the second you took that bullet. Dominic pulled his phone from his pocket, typed something, slid it back. You'll be moved to a secure location, medical staff, guards, everything you need. I can't afford. You're not paying. Dominic Wright's tone left no room for argument. This is my responsibility now. Aurelian shook his head. I don't want your money, I just want to go home. Your home isn't safe. Then I'll leave the city. He'll find you. Dominic stepped closer, his gaze locked on Aurelian's. You don't know how this works. Victor doesn't forget, he doesn't forgive, and he doesn't stop. Aurelian's throat tightened, fear crawled up his spine. So what am I supposed to do, just disappear? You're supposed to stay alive. Dominic Wright's voice softened, just barely, for your baby, for my sons, for whatever reason made you step in front of that gun. Aurelian looked away, tears burned his eyes. They asked about me. Every hour. Dominic Wright's expression shifted, almost human. Rowan drew you a picture, Silas won't stop crying. Aurelian's chest tightened. I didn't mean to. I know. Dominic turned toward the door, stopped. You'll meet them when you're stronger, they deserve to say thank you. He left without waiting for a response. Aurelian stared at the closed door, his hand rested on his stomach. The baby kicked again, stronger this time. We're in trouble, he whispered, aren't we? Outside, footsteps echoed in the hallway, voices murmured, machines hummed. And somewhere in the city, Victor Raines was already planning his next move. Should Aurelian trust Dominic or run? Comment your choice. The black SUV pulled up to the curb at 3 a.m. No headlights, no engine noise, just the soft click of doors opening in the dark. Aurelian stood at the penthouse window, one hand pressed against the glass. Below, the city stretched out in grids of light, beautiful, distant, unreachable. He'd been here 4 days. 4 days of guards outside his door, 4 days of doctors checking his vitals. 4 days of watching the twins through a security monitor because Dominic wouldn't let them visit in person. Too dangerous, he'd said. Aurelian touched his shoulder. The stitches pulled when he moved too fast. The bullet wound throbbed at night, a constant reminder that someone wanted him dead. The door opened behind him. Dominic walked in, no knock, no warning. He moved like he owned every space he entered. You should be resting. Aurelian didn't turn around. I've been resting for 4 days. The doctor said. I know what the doctor said. Aurelian's voice came out sharper than intended. He exhaled, softened. I'm fine, the baby's fine, I just want to go home. Dominic stopped beside him, stared out the same window. Your apartment was broken into last night. Aurelian's breath caught. What? Nothing was taken, they were looking for you. Dominic pulled his phone out, showed him a photo. Aurelian's front door kicked in, furniture overturned, drawers emptied onto the floor. Aurelian's hands shook. Who? Victor Raines, he's escalating. Dominic pocketed the phone. You can't go back. Then where am I supposed to go? Aurelian's voice cracked. I can't stay here forever, I have a life, a job. You had a life. Dominic's tone stayed cold, factual. Now you have a target on your back. Aurelian turned, faced him. I didn't ask for this. Neither did my sons, but you chose to get involved. The words hit like a slap. Aurelian stepped back, his hand moved to his stomach, protective, instinctive. You think I regret it? Dominic's expression didn't change. I think you don't understand what you've walked into. Then explain it to me. Aurelian's voice rose. Stop treating me like I'm fragile, stop making decisions for me, tell me what's happening. Silence filled the room. Dominic's jaw tightened. He walked to the window, stared down at the street. Victor Rains used to control the east side, shipping, distribution, protection rackets. I took it from him, piece by piece. He's been losing money, losing respect, losing power. So he came after your sons. He came after my weakness. Dominic's hands curled into fists. He wanted leverage, something to force me back to the table, but you interfered. Aurelian's chest tightened. So now he wants me instead. Now he wants you dead, or worse. Dominic turned, his gaze locked on Aurelian. He's spreading rumors, telling people you're carrying my child, that you're under my protection. Every alpha in the city thinks you're connected to me now. Aurelian's stomach dropped, but I'm not. It doesn't matter, perception is reality. Dominic stepped closer. You're a liability, a target, and Victor will use you to get to me. Then let me go. Aurelian's voice shook. I'll leave the city, change my name, disappear. He'll find you. You don't know that. I do. Dominic's voice dropped, dangerous, final, because I would. The truth settled between them, heavy, unavoidable. Aurelian looked away, tears burned his eyes. I just wanted to help. You did. Dominic's tone softened, barely. My sons are alive because of you, but that doesn't change what happens next. Aurelian wiped his eyes. What does happen next? Dominic walked to the door, stopped. You stay here under my protection until Victor is dealt with. And then... Dominic didn't answer. He left. The door clicked shut. Aurelian stood alone in the penthouse. The city lights blurred through his tears, his hand rested on his stomach. The baby kicked, strong, defiant. We're trapped, he whispered. Downstairs a car door slammed. Then the Omega disappeared. What would you do in Aurelian's place? Comment below. The twins found Aurelian on the balcony 3 days later. Security had finally cleared them for a supervised visit. Rowan ran ahead, clutching a crumpled drawing. Silas followed slower, eyes wide, nervous. Aurelian turned, his breath caught. They looked smaller in person, more fragile. Rowan's eyes were red from crying. Silas kept glancing at the bandage visible under Aurelian's shirt collar. Hi, Aurelian's voice came out soft, gentle. Rowan thrust the drawing forward. I made this for you. Aurelian took it carefully, 2 stick figures, him and Rowan holding hands under a rainbow. A third figure stood off to the side, taller, alone. That's my dad, Rowan said. He doesn't smile much. Aurelian's throat tightened. It's beautiful, thank you. Silas stepped closer, stared at Aurelian's shoulder. Does it hurt? A little. Aurelian knelt slowly, eye level, but I'm okay, see. Silas reached out, touched the bandage gently, his fingers trembled. You saved us. You didn't have to, Rowan added, his voice cracked, but you did. Aurelian's chest ached. He pulled both boys into a careful hug. They clung to him, small arms wrapping tight, faces pressed against his shoulders. Silas started crying. Rowan held on like letting go would break something. It's okay, Aurelian whispered. You're safe, that's all that matters. Behind them, Dominic stood in the doorway, silent, watching. The twins stayed for an hour. They asked questions, told stories, drew more pictures. Aurelian listened to every word, laughed at their jokes, made them promise to take care of each other. When the guard came to collect them, both boys hugged Aurelian again. Will you stay, Silas asked, with us? Aurelian's heart broke. I don't know, sweetheart. Please, Rowan's eyes filled with tears. We don't want you to go. Aurelian looked past them, at Dominic. The alpha's expression stayed blank, unreadable. I'll try, Aurelian said softly. I promise I'll try. The twins left reluctantly, their voices echoed down the hallway, then silence. Dominic walked onto the balcony, stood beside Aurelian, neither spoke for a long time. They've never attached to anyone like that, Dominic said finally, not even family. Aurelian stared at the drawing in his hands. They're good kids. They are, Dominic's voice softened, because of people like you. Aurelian looked up. What does that mean? It means I've spent 10 years teaching them strength, power, control. Dominic's jaw tightened. You taught them kindness in 5 minutes. Aurelian didn't know what to say. Dominic turned, faced him. I can't let you leave, not because of Victor, because of them. Aurelian's breath caught. You can't keep me here because your son's like me. I can keep you here because you're in danger, because leaving means dying. Dominic stepped closer. But I won't lie to you, they need you, and I don't know how to give them what you can. What's that? Hope. The word hung between them, raw, honest. Aurelian's hand moved to his stomach, the baby kicked. I have my own child to think about. I know, Dominic's gaze dropped, and I'll protect both of you whatever it takes. Why? Aurelian's voice shook. Why do you care? Dominic didn't answer. He walked back inside. Aurelian stood alone, the drawing fluttered in his hands. Below, the city hummed, oblivious, uncaring. His phone buzzed. Unknown, asterisk, the penthouse isn't as safe as he thinks. Aurelian's blood went cold. He looked around, no one, just empty balcony, distant lights. Another message. Unknown, asterisk, will see you soon, Omega. The phone slipped from his hands, clattered on the tile. Inside, alarms blared. How did they find him? Drop your theories below. The basement smelled like rust and fear. Aurelian woke to darkness and pain, his wrists burned, rope cut into his skin. He tried to move, but his arms were tied behind his back. His shoulder screamed where the stitches had torn. He gasped, blinked, tried to see. A single bulb flickered overhead, concrete walls, metal door, no windows. Awake, good. Aurelian's head snapped up. A man stepped into the light, older, gray hair, expensive suit, cold eyes. Victor Rains. Aurelian's heart pounded. Where am I? Somewhere Dominic Hale can't reach you. Victor pulled a chair closer, sat down, crossed his legs like they were having tea. Comfortable? Aurelian's hands shook. Let me go. No, Victor smiled. You're far too valuable. Aurelian pulled against the ropes. Pain shot through his shoulder, blood soaked through his shirt. I don't know anything, I'm not. You're exactly what I need. Victor leaned forward. Dominic took everything from me, my business, my reputation, my power. Now I'm going to take something from him. I'm not his, Aurelian's voice cracked. I'm nobody. You took a bullet for his sons, you're living in his penthouse, he's protecting you like you matter. Victor's smile widened. That's all I need. Aurelian's chest tightened. He'll come for me. I'm counting on it. Victor stood, walked to the door, and when he does, I'll be ready. The door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed everything. Aurelian sat alone, tears streamed down his face. His shoulder throbbed, his wrists bled, the baby kicked weakly. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Upstairs a phone rang. Dominic answered on the first ring. Hale. Static, then a voice, cold, mocking. I have something of yours. Dominic's hand tightened around the phone. Where is he? Safe for now, Victor laughed. You want him back? Come alone, no guards, no weapons, just you. If you hurt him, you're not in a position to make threats. Victor's voice dropped. Midnight, the old factory on the east side, alone or the Omega dies. The line went dead. Dominic stood frozen, his mind raced. 12 hours, he had 12 hours. Rowan burst into the room. Dad, where's Aurelian? He promised. Not now, Dominic's voice came out harsher than intended. Silas appeared behind his brother. Is he okay? Did something happen? Dominic looked at his sons, their faces, their fear. The Omega who'd saved them was gone, taken, because Dominic hadn't been fast enough, smart enough, careful enough. He'd failed again. Stay with the guards, Dominic said quietly. Don't leave this room. But now. The twins obeyed, silent, scared. Dominic walked to the window, stared out at the city, his reflection stared back, cold, empty. For 15 years he'd ruled through fear. Now fear was the only thing he felt. He pulled his phone out, made a call. I need everyone, full deployment, East Side Factory. Sir, if this is a trap. It is, Dominic's voice stayed calm, deadly, and I'm walking into it anyway. He ended the call. 11 hours left. Victor thought he'd won. Will Dominic save Aurelian in time? Comment your predictions below. Gunfire shattered the factory windows at 11:47 p.m. Dominic didn't wait for midnight, he came early with 30 armed men, 3 vehicles, no mercy. Victor's guards scattered, bullets tore through metal, glass exploded, voices shouted commands that no one followed. Dominic walked through the chaos like he couldn't be touched. He kicked open the basement door, descended the stairs, found Aurelian tied to a chair, blood soaking through his shirt, eyes wide with terror. "It's over," Dominic's voice stayed calm. He knelt, cut the ropes, caught Aurelian as he collapsed forward. "The baby," Aurelian gasped. "We'll check right now, we move." Dominic lifted him carefully, carried him up the stairs. Behind them, Victor Reigns screamed orders that no one obeyed. His men were dead or running, his empire was ash. Outside, the night air hit cold. Aurelian clung to Dominic's jacket. "You came." "I wasn't going to leave you," Dominic's jaw tightened. "Not again." A gunshot cracked behind them. Dominic turned. Victor stood in the factory doorway, gun raised, blood streaming from his temple, eyes wild. "You took everything from me," Victor's hands shook. "Everything." Dominic set Aurelian down gently, stepped forward, unarmed, unafraid. "You did this to yourself." "No," Victor's voice broke. "You destroyed me because you could, because I was weak." "You were reckless," Dominic's tone stayed cold. "You targeted children, innocent people, you forgot the rules." "There are no rules," Victor screamed, "not for men like you." Dominic's expression didn't change. "You're right, there aren't." He raised his hand. 20 guns trained on Victor simultaneously. Victor's face went white, the gun slipped from his fingers, clattered on concrete. "Please," his voice cracked, "please." Dominic turned his back, walked to Aurelian, lifted him again. "Sir," a guard stepped close. "Orders." Dominic didn't look back. "Make sure he never threatens anyone again." Gunfire echoed behind them. Dominic carried Aurelian to the SUV, set him in the back seat, checked his pulse, his breathing, the baby's movement. "We're going to the hospital, stay with me." Aurelian's eyes fluttered. "The twins, are they safe, waiting for you?" Dominic's voice softened. "They've been asking about you all day." Tears streamed down Aurelian's face. "I thought I'd never see them again." "You will," Dominic brushed blood-matted hair from Aurelian's forehead. "I promise." The SUV pulled away. Behind them, the factory burned. Victor's body lay somewhere in the wreckage. The city's power structure shifted in the span of 12 hours. Dominic Hale had chosen an Omega over strategy. And everyone would remember. At the hospital, doctors rushed Aurelian into emergency care. Dominic stood in the hallway, blood on his suit, exhaustion in his bones. His sons appeared, guards flanking them. Rowan ran forward, Silas followed. "Is he okay?" Rowan's voice shook. Dominic knelt, pulled them close. "He's going to be fine. Promise. Promise." Inside the room, machines beeped steadily. Aurelian's heartbeat stabilized. The baby kicked, strong, defiant. A nurse stepped out. "He's asking for you, all of you." Dominic stood, led his sons inside. Aurelian smiled weakly from the bed. "Hey, troublemakers." The twins climbed carefully onto the bed, curled against him, held on tight. Dominic stood at the foot of the bed, watched. Something in his chest tightened, something he hadn't felt in years. But one final truth remained hidden. What truth is still buried? Comment your guesses below. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Every story here inspires, and your thoughts in the comments inspire others. Share this with someone who needs to see it. The medical report arrived 3 days later. Dominic sat in his office, alone. The envelope rested on his desk, unopened. He'd read reports like this 1,000 times. Financial statements, security assessments, background checks, information was power. This felt different. He opened it slowly. The first page was standard: Aurelian's condition, the baby's health, recovery timeline. The second page stopped him cold. Genetic analysis, fetal DNA screening. Alpha markers detected, rare lineage classification. Hale ancestral match, 87% probability. Dominic's hands tightened, the paper crumpled slightly. He read it again, slower, every word. The baby wasn't random. The baby carried Hale blood. Impossible, he never touched Aurelian, never been close enough. They met 3 weeks ago. But the science didn't lie. Dominic stood, paced, his mind raced through possibilities, errors, contamination, lab mistakes. None of it fit. He pulled his phone out, called the hospital. "I need to speak to Dr. Kimura, now." 30 seconds, then a voice. "Mr. Hale. Explain this report." Silence, then a sigh. "The markers indicate shared lineage, not direct parentage. The child carries genetic traits that match your family line going back 3 generations." Dominic's jaw clenched. "What does that mean?" "It means the child's biological father is connected to your bloodline, a cousin, a distant relative, someone in your extended family." Dominic's mind spun. His family tree was complicated, branches spread across cities, half-siblings he'd never met, relatives who'd disappeared decades ago. "Who?" "We can't determine that without testing every possible candidate." Dr. Kamara paused. "But there's something else. The alpha markers are rare, extremely rare. This child will be powerful, influential, a natural leader." Dominic stared out the window. The city stretched below. His city built on power, control, legacy. And now, an Omega he barely knew carried a child tied to everything Dominic had spent his life building. "Does he know?" "Not yet. The report was flagged for you first." Dominic ended the call. He sat down, stared at the paper. Aurelian had taken a bullet for his sons, survived kidnapping, endured pain that would have broken most people, all without asking for anything in return. And now Dominic understood why. The Omega who'd saved his children wasn't random. He was destiny. Dominic walked to the hospital, found Aurelian in his room. The twins were there, drawing, laughing, safe. Aurelian looked up, smiled. "Hey." Dominic stepped inside, closed the door. "We need to talk." The twins looked between them, sensing tension. "Boys, go with Marcus." Dominic gestured to the guard. 5 minutes. Rowan and Silas left reluctantly. Aurelian's smile faded. "What's wrong?" Dominic sat down, handed him the report. "Read this." Aurelian's hands shook. He scanned the pages. His face went pale. "I don't understand. What does this mean?" "It means your child is connected to my family, biologically, through bloodline." Aurelian's breath caught. "But I don't know anyone in your family. I've never." "The father." Dominic's voice stayed calm. "Who is he?" Aurelian's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. It was one night. I don't even remember his name." Dominic's jaw tightened. "What do you remember?" "Brown hair, expensive suit. He said his name was Marcus. He was kind, gentle." Aurelian wiped his eyes. "I thought I'd never see him again." "Marcus." "Dominic's cousin, the one who'd disappeared 6 months ago, the one who'd been running supply routes in the south. The one who died in a car accident 3 weeks before Aurelian took that bullet." Dominic closed his eyes. "He's gone." "What?" "Marcus Hale, my cousin. He died 3 weeks ago." Aurelian's face crumpled, sobs tore through his chest. Dominic reached out, pulled him close, let him cry. "I'm sorry," Dominic said quietly. "I'm so sorry." Aurelian clung to him. I didn't know he mattered." "He did." Dominic's voice softened. "And so do you." Aurelian pulled back, stared at him. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because your child is family, my family." Dominic's gaze didn't waver. "And I protect family always." Aurelian's breath shook. "I don't want your charity." "This isn't charity." Dominic stood. "This is responsibility. You saved my sons, you survived hell, and now you're carrying the future of my bloodline." "I didn't ask for any of this." "Neither did I." Dominic's expression softened. "But here we are." Silence filled the room. Aurelian touched his stomach. The baby kicked, strong, defiant. "What happens now?" Aurelian whispered. Dominic walked to the door, stopped, looked back. "Now you stay with us where you belong." "And if I say no?" Dominic smiled, rare, genuine. "Then I'll ask again tomorrow and the day after until you say yes." He opened the door. The twins burst in, climbed onto the bed, wrapped around Aurelian like they'd never let go. Dominic watched from the doorway. For 15 years he'd ruled through power. Now he understood something deeper. True strength wasn't dominance. It was choosing to protect the fragile things, the innocent things, the things that mattered more than empires. Aurelian looked up, met his gaze. And for the first time in his life, Dominic Hale felt something that terrified him more than any enemy ever could. Hope. What would you do? Accept family or walk away? Comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories that inspire. Share your thoughts, your voice matters, and it might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.